Hi there and welcome to my second video of Life with Presidents. I was going to put three presidents together, but I think they all deserve a special mention. So I'm going to start with possibly the best of all presidents, B.J. Habibie. Why would I say that? Well, let's look at B.J. Habibie. No doubt in my mind the most intellectual of the presidents by a long way. Nobody comes close. He actually served under Suharto for 20 years before becoming president. He was vice president under Suharto at the end, but primarily he was the Minister of Research and Technology. He'd studied in Holland, and of course he'd studied in Germany, MIT. I mean, it was all good. I mean, yes, there were definitely poor ministers in Suharto's rule, but Habibie was one of the best. But for me, it's what he did when he was president that makes him such a standout. And these definitely, in no specifically order, include giving East Timor its independence. It wouldn't see its independence officially till after his presidency, which, by the way, was only 18 months, the shortest of all Indonesian presidents, which is why he's often overlooked in like who was the best. But in East Timor-Leste deserved its independence. There's no doubt about that. It had a hell of a time under Suharto's regime. A lot of human rights issues. I'm not going to go into East Timor here specifically, but it was horrendous. And Habibie saw the light. But not only did he do that, he gave the Chinese, at one stage, especially at the end of Suharto's reign, it was Pribumi versus non-Pribumi, which was indigenous versus non-indigenous. You'd often see signs, Pribumi, this restaurant belongs to Pribumi, to stop it being part of the rioting area. So yeah. And he gave a presidential decree saying, no, we're not going to have this Pribumi stuff. So he did very well. He got the Chinese community to trust and stay, because without the Chinese community, Indonesia, many problems. No doubt about that. Another thing that, of course, he did was what? Oh, yeah. Silly me. Political parties and freedom of press. He gave huge... at one time, there were only three parties, PPP, PDI and Golkar. Now I think we've got 30 or 40, but certainly Golkar was the party, and it was his party too. He led Golkar through that year and a half of his tenure. But he opened the way for more parties, and of course press freedom, which was very important. He wasn't everybody's cup of tea. There was one man especially, Akbar Tanjung, who stood against him and probably cost him the chance of a second presidency, which I think he wanted, and the country probably could have done with, but it wasn't to be. Politics always gets in the way. But yeah, thumbs up for Habibie. At the end of this, when it comes to my summary, I guess, when I've done all of the presidents, I'll kind of rank them and see what I feel personally, who were the best and who were the worst. And it might be a bit obvious as I'm going through the videos, but I will do a special video at the end. Of course, it's all personal taste. I've met people who can't abide the Suharto rule. I met people who love Prabowo, So people are different. People have different perspectives on things. But at the end of the day, it is an opinion. So what was life like for those 18 months? Well, first of all, majorly, I welcomed my second child, Shayla, in July 98. It was nice to have a daughter. Wow. I love her very much. She's getting into her 30s now and just got married. Shout out to Shayla here. Love you much. Anyway, for those 18 months, life became, I wouldn't say ordinary, but it had a formula. Monday to Friday, work, GMIS, 9 to 3. And then tutoring in the evening, Koreans. Then on Saturday it was football, Wanderers, yeah, great day out. Different wives dealt with the soccer players different ways. I was very lucky that Isma understood that I enjoyed my football and went out with the lads on the Saturday night and enjoyed myself. No worries, and of course Sunday, family day. Yeah. So everything was, pretty comfortable in that sense, living in Chempaka Mas apartments, and the huge, and I mean huge development within the next 5 to 6 years of Chempaka, and especially Kelapa Gading. Mall of Indonesia would come, Kelapa Gading Mall would, it would just expand and expand and expand. And generally, I've noticed that most expats, including myself, obviously you're going to stick to the areas you live in. It just costs too much to generally go down to Pondok Indah every week, or so you stick with the areas, and that's what we did. I mean, generally it was the Kelapa Gading, Kemayoran area, but of course you travel. That's not what I'm saying. At GMIS itself, I was a class teacher for the first year. I'd never done that before, looking after a class, and I never did it since. Not my scene, doing registers and decorating the classroom. Oh, we had a thing called Class of the Week. I hated it. But I got my students always, because other teachers would mark your class. So I always got my students to stand up. Sir, this is Sir Philip's class. In other words, don't give me bad marks. You don't have to make me win, but I'm not going to listen to principals saying, oh, they've got to improve. No. And anyway, it was irrelevant, because there's only one type of teacher who'd ever win Class of the Week, and that were the Filipinos. They were good at decorating classes. Ooh, they were good. They're good teachers as well. Very good. And talking of which, our mixture in those days, in the early days before the riots, of course, we had a lot of expats. Generally, with my 20 years of GMIS 16 in Jakarta, generally I was the only white face. There were a couple who came and went. There was an African teacher, sports, but generally, when it came to Westerners, hello. Teachers then were very strong. On the whole, I mean, you're always going to have 1 or 2 weeks, but we didn't do IB at the time. IB would come within the year. And when I say IB, I mean the MYP and PYP would start to come into the scene. But for the first year and a half anyway, I wasn't dealing with IB at all. Just got on with teaching. And great fun, great people. We did our first field trip to Bali. I didn't lead that one. I was to lead a lot of them, but not that one. And I don't know, the vibe was good. I was very happy at GMIS. I'll save that for Megawati, or I think that was a few years after, so I'll keep that out. So that's pretty much it for this one. Nothing special. By the way, riots, the threats of riots, didn't go away after Suharto's downfall. No. A lot of people think they did. No. Oh no, there was always the threat. There was always something going on for at least the first few months. By the way, the rupiah stabilized. Wow, came down to about 8. Oof. Anyway, as I say, Habibie, not a bad man. Not a bad man at all. Not a bad man at all. As always, Baba, don't be a sheep.